If you told me 10 years ago that I'd leave my engineering career to sell used clothes for a living, I would have laughed.
No way.
Way.
Because I had spent years earning an engineering degree. I taught engineering at the college level. Selling used clothes wasn't even on my radar. But today, I've sold thousands of clothing items online, made well over $100,000 in net profit, paid off our house, and built a business that gave me something that I didn't even realize that I was searching for: freedom. If you've ever wondered whether it's actually possible to build real income from home, even if you've never thought of yourself as an entrepreneur, I want to tell you how this completely unexpected path changed my life. Now, growing up, I did what most people do. I followed the plan. I went to college, got the degree, started the job, started building a career. And for me, that was engineering. I loved solving problems. Eventually, I started teaching engineering as an adjunct professor, and I loved it, loved my students. But then life changed. My husband and I started having kids, and I realized something. The career that I'd spent years preparing for wasn't actually the life that I wanted anymore. I wanted to be home. I wanted flexibility. I wanted to be able to be there for my kids. And so I left my engineering career and became a stay-at-home mom. It was exactly where I wanted to be, except there was one little problem. If you have ever tried living on one income in a two-income world, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We were scrimping and saving, watching every penny, budgeting, cutting coupons, doing all of the things, and still struggling. You see, for years, I had searched for ways to be able to make money from home. And in the meantime, I had continued to teach part-time as an adjunct. Yes, it helped, but I still had to leave the house. I still had a commute, and I was still working around somebody else's schedule. So I kept researching other businesses and other opportunities. And it felt like everything out there involved having to do things like selling to your friends, hosting parties, recruiting people, selling Tupperware, essential oils, candles, constantly having to promote something. And that just wasn't me. I didn't want to be that person. I just wanted to have a way that gave me the flexibility to make money from home. And then one day I remember a friend mentioned her eBay business. And I go, business?
You can't be serious.
I knew that you could sell things on eBay, but a business? I had never heard of that. Yes, I had sold textbooks throughout college, but as an actual business. And I asked her how she was doing it. She explained that she would go to a thrift store and buy some things and then turn around and sell them online for more money. And honestly, it sounded just crazy to me. How does that even happen? You walk into a thrift store, find something, how do you even know what it is that you're looking for? And then why are people paying more for that same item online when they could have just gotten it at a thrift store? I did not fully understand that concept, but I decided, hey, you know what? If it's working for her, I'm gonna at least give it a try. And I didn't think this was gonna change my life. I was simply curious. And so I walked into that first thrift store after having done some research. I had pretty much no idea what I was doing. I remember feeling so overwhelmed, just standing there staring, not even knowing where to start. And it all looked the same, just used clothes after used clothes. I wasn't able to see value. I wasn't seeing opportunity. I was basically just seeing clutter, seeing junk. But I took the chance and started learning, buying a couple items at a time, and realizing when people are searching online, they're searching with intent, and they're willing to pay more money because of that intent, more than if they were just browsing at a garage sale. And as I started listing these items, they started selling. First, one thing, it was a pair of men's Levi's jeans, and then another item sold, and then another. And little by little, I realized that there was skill behind this. It wasn't just all luck. It wasn't just happening to stumble across one lucky item in a thrift store. And I still remember some of those early surprises. Finding something for just a few bucks and turning around and selling it for 30, or finding a pair of shoes that look completely ordinary, only to discover that they were worth almost $100. Items like this LL Bean tote bag that sold for 45 bucks. A gold men's jeans that went for 30 bucks after an offer. A vintage Gunny Sacks dress that sold for 100 bucks, Johnny Was top that went for 87 full price. A men's Columbia fishing shirt, have sold tons of these for 30 bucks. This Peruvian Connections women's sweater that every other reseller had passed over barely got it listed. It sold for 100 bucks. This vintage Orvis women's jacket, absolutely beautiful, went for 167 on Poshmark. And a workwear item like these fire-resistant pants from the brand Workrite. These went full price for 33 bucks. Every one of those sales completely changed how I started looking at thrift stores and what was around me. I realized that opportunity had always been there. I just hadn't learned how to recognize it yet. You know, one of the biggest mistakes that I made in the beginning was simply not knowing what to look for. I walked past profitable items all the time because I didn't know that they were valuable. And that's exactly why I created my free reseller checklist. It's the guide that I wished I had when I first started. It covers what to look for, what to avoid, and how to get started without feeling overwhelmed. If you'd like a copy for yourself, it's the first link in the description. Now, let me tell you what changed everything.
I want you to be the first to know.
At first, I treated this like most people do. Maybe I'll make a few extra bucks. Maybe I'll be able to sell a couple things every month. But I eventually realized something. If I wanted different results, I couldn't keep treating it like a side hustle. I had to treat it like a business. And so I started studying brands. I started learning what it is that buyers are actually searching for. I figured out keywords. I improved my photos. I got better at sourcing, and I built systems. Through those systems, I was able to become more consistent. The business didn't suddenly just change overnight. I did, and it was something that I built. Every small improvement stacked on top of the last one. And over time, those small improvements built into something much bigger than what I ever imagined would happen. Now, people hear this story and usually assume the best part is the money. And don't get me wrong, paying off our house, yes, that was incredible. Making over 100,000 in profit, that completely changed our finances. But honestly, that's not the part that I'm most grateful for. The real gift: freedom to be able to work around my family, freedom to choose my schedule, to be present for the moments that mattered most. Around that same season of my life, my teaching position came to an end. I could have started looking for another college. I could have gone back into engineering. Instead, I realized that reselling wasn't just another way to be able to make money. Maybe this was my next career, a fun one at that. So instead of going back to what I'd always known, I decided to keep building this. And looking back, that decision completely changed the direction of our family's life. And I think a lot of us believe our future has already been decided for us. We chose a career, we earned a degree, we invested years into learning a profession. And so we assume that's the path that we're supposed to stay on forever. But life changes, life happens. Priorities change, dreams change. And for me, selling used clothes, that was never the dream. The dream was building a life that fit around my family. Reselling just happened to be the vehicle that got me there. So if you're feeling stuck, if you're searching for another way, or wondering if it's too late to start something completely different, I hope my story encourages you. Because you see, sometimes the opportunities that change your life aren't the ones that you planned. It's the ones that you almost overlooked. If you're wondering why I almost talked myself out of reselling in the first place, I made another video sharing all of the doubts I had before I ever got started and why almost every one of them turned out to be wrong. Click on that video right here, and I'll see you there.